this video is for anyone who has shoulder instability or they have shoulder pain when they're pressing. Shoulder pain, obviously, when you're pressing overhead, usually, although it can be out in front, you feel pain when you're doing that in and around the shoulder. Instability generally feels like when you're pressing overhead, you don't feel like you have good control or balance of the weight as it's going overhead or out in front of you. What we're going to do first is, I'm going to use 4 exercises that target each of the 4 muscles within the rotator cuff, which is the shoulder stabilizing group of muscles, to strengthen them. And then after that, we'll use 2 exercises to prime you for doing your pressing to ensure that you're stable and the rotator cuff has been stimulated prior to doing those pressing exercises. Okay, so for each of these rotator cuff exercises, you want to do between 2 and 4 sets, depending on what makes your shoulders feel better. And you want to do somewhere between 8 up to 15 or 20 reps of each to ensure that your rotator cuff as a whole is being stimulated effectively prior to going into your pressing movements. The first one we're going to do is just a simple lateral raise. Now I'm using a band for this, you don't need to do that, it's just for convenience so that you can use one bit of equipment for each of the exercises. What we want to do first is stand on the band, and then you're abducting or taking your shoulder away from your body, and I want you to go probably around 10 or 15 degrees higher than shoulder width. So if this is 90 degrees, you're going just beyond that. I'm going here and back down. Like so. And it's important that when you're doing it, if you look at me side on, you're going out at roughly 30 degrees. It's not coming straight out to the side, it's coming slightly forward ahead of the body, because that's the angle that the muscle that we're targeting, the supraspinatus, is angled at. So we want to lift in that manner so that you're effectively hitting that muscle. The second exercise we're going to do, external rotations, we're going to do in 2 different manners. Now the reason for this is because 2 of the rotator cuff muscles both deal with external rotation, but one is targeted more effectively with your arm at your side, like that, and one's targeted more effectively when your arm is out abducted, like that. So the first thing we're going to do is just called banded external rotations, or band W's or sometimes known as. And what you do is put your hands up the way, so supinate them, hold the band here, keep your elbows tucked in at your side, and then you're pulling the band apart, keeping your elbows in at your side. If I was to look at myself from above, my arms look like they're moving in a sort of U-shape or rainbow around my body. Main part, making sure you keep the elbows in and externally rotating like that. The second way you're going to do the external rotations is you can tie the band around a rack, and then from here, what you do is you hold the band out your side, and then we're externally rotating that way. So thinking about your elbow being on a hinge or a pivot, and we're rotating out this way. Like that, and do obviously 8 to 15 or 20 reps each side for that. And the last exercise you're going to do is for the internal rotator of your shoulder. It's called the subscapularis. So this is, like I said, an internal rotator. It does the opposite of the external rotation, so we're pulling in the way. For this, you do the exact same movement, you just face out the way, and you want to have the band a little bit higher. So if we pull the band up a bit there, and then from here, what we're doing is getting set up in this position, and you're doing the opposite of what you did with the external rotation. So we're pulling the band in the way, keeping the shoulder abducted up at 90 degrees, and pulling in like this. And again, doing the allocated sets and reps for both sides. Okay, so that we're then going to move on to 2 exercises that closer resemble your pressing movements that you're going to do in your session. First one being a windmill. You can do this with a dumbbell or a kettlebell, and what we're doing here is holding this up like that, pressing overhead, and then from here, what we're trying to do is keep the arm at the top head, rotating, and keeping your eyes on the dumbbell the entire way through. Touch the floor, and then keeping the eyes focused up. For these exercises, we're going to do 2 to 3 sets, and you'll do it for lower reps, somewhere around 3 or 5, doing it nice, slow and controlled, ensuring that you're maintaining balance. So what the key is here, keep the arm locked, and then rotate, and keep your eyes focused on the weight. The last one we're going to do, we're actually going to do the exercise that you're doing, but we're going to add multiple pauses into it. So if you're doing a strict press, for example, we're going to do that with the barbell, and we're just going to add lots of staggered pauses on the way up, just to maintain stability and find control through different portions or different parts of the movement. So how that'll look let's say we're coming under here. Same, 2 to 3 sets, 3 to 5 reps, and what we're doing is press, pause slightly, hold for 2 to 3 seconds, go again, hold for 2 to 3 seconds, go again, hold for 2 to 3 seconds, go again, hold for 2 to 3 seconds, press overhead, hold for 2 to 3 seconds, come back down and slow and control. We'll do that for 5 reps. So again, hold, 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 and then press through and hold, and then all the way back down. Doing 4 or 5 pauses through various parts of the movement. Now, obviously that's done with a strict press. If you're doing a flat bench press and that's what causes you problems, do that. So you do the pauses at multiple stages on the way up to that. Same thing if you're doing a seated dumbbell shoulder press, you do that with the multiple pauses in. Give this warm up or primer a try prior to doing your pressing movements. And you can also do this on your days off if you want, if you've got the equipment to do it, which will help strengthen your rotator cuff and shoulder stability so that you reduce the amount of pain and instability you have when you're doing your pressing movements.